Employment attorney John Bell is with us tonight to dig a little deeper on this issue. John, if a driver passes that background check and they become an employee or a contractor, I don't know what they are exactly with Uber because it's kind of technical, but after that, what liability does Uber have if the driver then violates the law?
So really, it depends upon the scope of their background check. Are they really doing enough? And the answer really is chance no. They're completely putting profits over safety in this situation. If you look at it, although they might be doing what they call background checks, clearly they're not doing a very thorough job. And had they, they'd be able to weed out a lot of these drivers that shouldn't be drivers. In addition, the question is, what can they do beyond the background checks? My understanding of the case is that once the person canceled the ride, there was no contact from Uber to the passenger to make sure the passenger, in this case, this young lady, was okay. Does Uber require cameras? Why don't they require cameras in the car that somehow Uber has some type of screening process that when a driver cancels a ride, they could see what's going on, some notice. Quite surely they have the funding for things of that nature. So there's a lot more things that Uber can do and they're not doing.
And then you have the issue of identity theft, John. And the story says it's really not that uncommon that people use a certain identity, pass the background check, they're out there driving, you maybe don't know who they are. You said that Uber's not doing enough. Are they doing less than, let's say, a taxi company would or than other? I mean, because you see people use fake identities all the time in America to be able to work.
That's scary because that allows people who actually do have potentially violent crimes in their background to go out and use someone else's identity. And if they're not being properly screened, you really don't know who, in fact, is driving either yourself, your kids, your significant other. So that was a scary fact that came out. And I hope that they're doing a lot more than an online application and then running a background check just based upon the information they receive online. They really do need to go above and beyond and verify the individual's identity. I believe that that is negligence. I believe that in that situation, a plaintiff can prove causation and ultimately tie in Uber to a big lawsuit.
Wow, okay. Legally, how is it handled in a case like this, which is really disturbing to hear her tell it? Grace was the young woman, where the passenger doesn't have a recollection of that interaction. And then you have the driver saying, well, this encounter was totally consensual. How is that handled legally?
So it's going to be a little bit more challenging when the passenger admittedly does not have a recollection. But with respect to Uber itself, again, the question is, why didn't they do something when that driver canceled the trip to contact her and make sure that she was okay? All these cases have to do with notice. There's either constructive notice or actual notice. Clearly, Uber didn't have actual notice of what was going on, but constructive notice is, should they have known? Should they have done a better background check and then disqualify this individual as a driver? If that would have happened, then the passenger would not have been sexually assaulted.
I see. So would his other legal criminal history come to bear in that case? I know sometimes in these cases they say you did your time or the statute of limitations expired or what have you for when you ran the red light or when you punched somebody in the face. Would those things come to bear now that this accusation's been made?
That is true. There are times where there are laws that vary state by state where an employer may have to still offer someone a job even if they were convicted. However, the employer still has a duty if the individual, the employee or the independent contractor was convicted of something like assault or something involving some type of physical harm, and you're now a driver of a passenger where there's no witnesses, I believe that Uber can in fact disqualify that individual because they're putting essentially the company and their passengers at risk.
Okay. Finally, John, What sort of protections do riders have? Because a lot of these rides happen, you're alone. They happen very late at night. Maybe you're in a compromised state. Some uncomfortable situations can happen.
So my advice for passengers would be, to the extent that you're going to go out to a bar and you know there's a chance you will become inebriated, you should go out with another individual who may not be drinking as a designated driver, or at least if you are going out with somebody else who intends on drinking, that at least go back on that Uber together and plan to go back to the same location, because it's doubtful that this would happen to the extent that there's more than one passenger in the vehicle.
And you also have the right that if you do have even a gut feeling something's off, they're required to stop, right? If you say, let me out, they have to let you out.
That is true, but if someone, you got to
Okay.
think, if the driver has bad intentions, I don't know if that's going to fly. So you really want to stop before you even get into that situation. You might even want to, if possible, if you are fearful, or you want to at least, a good idea is to question the driver when you open the door, ask him for some information, just maybe start a quick conversation, maybe even last 1 minute long, and then trust your instincts, trust your gut. If your gut is telling you that this is not a good situation, close that door and cancel the ride.
And it just gives you a pit in your stomach to even think that it's necessary to discuss that. But I appreciate it. John Bell, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me on again.
Still